the housing market in Palm Beach County has become very unattainable to our younger generation of people. Like my kids, my children are 24 years old and 18 tomorrow. And I am worried about them when it comes to how are they going to buy their first home, because one of the things that I always instill in them is when you pay rent, you pay somebody else's mortgage. So we definitely don't want me telling them that and then they're like, oh gosh, mom, I can't afford to buy a house. One of the issues that we're dealing with now is a housing shortage. So I think because the economy kind of went a little crazy with our housing, and we stopped building a lot of stuff, and we wanted to make sure we're still not building enough housing, especially here for us. So one of the issues is the housing shortage. So we don't have enough houses for people that need houses. The second thing is because we enjoyed low interest rate for such a long time that now people are used to that low interest rate. For example, my house that I live in currently, the interest rate is 2.9% interest. Now I'm never moving out of that house or refinancing it because I'm never going to get that interest rate again. So I'm okay with that. But for younger people who want to buy a house now, what are their choices? Honestly, the interest rate right now is historically low, even though it's higher than what we're used to. Because let me tell you, when I was buying my first house when I was 25 years old in New York City, my interest rate was 9.5%. That didn't stop me from buying a house. I just needed to incorporate that in my budget. Yes, at that time, the price of the house was a lot less than houses now, but I also made a lot less money than I do now. When my aunt bought her house just the decade before I bought mine, her interest rate was 13%. So historically, those are what interest rate used to be. When we bought our house here for the first time 21 years ago in the state of Florida, my interest rate was 6.5%, which was pretty good, normal for that time. So the interest rate, why I don't think we're gonna see interest rate any lower than between 5 and 7, and I think that that's a normal thing, 5 and 7 interest rate, between 5% and 7% for a 30-year mortgage, is because I think that that's a very reasonable interest rate. If we have interest rate as low as it was when I bought my other house down here, then we're gonna have inflation again, because that's free money. That's 2.9 is very low for the cost of money. And when you're paying interest on a mortgage, you're paying for the cost of the money. What does that mean? It means that the bank or the loan company is lending you this money and you're paying them to lend you the money. Now, I know you hear a lot of people that says, okay, you should get a 15-year mortgage. I don't know how attainable a 15-year mortgage is. I personally don't think that you should wait to have a 15-year mortgage. You should first buy your starter home whenever you have saved up your minimum down payment at a payment that you can afford now. A couple of things that we need to talk about, and I just went to a seminar today and we talked about the difference between leasing and buying. Leasing is less responsibility. I understand that. Renting is less responsibility. But there is no guarantee that your rent is going to stay the same. Your rent today, because that landlord also has a mortgage, they have taxes, they have insurance. So they own the building, and when their taxes, their insurance, their mortgage, their repairs go up, it falls to you. Your rent is going to go up to pay that. So a lot of people tell me, oh, I don't want the responsibility of owning because it's going to cost too much. Guess what? When you rent, you are paying the cost of that landlord buying what he bought. So either way, if you're renting or you bought something, the cost of the market will affect you because that landlord is in the business of owning a property. They're in the business of making money from renting. So I guarantee you, yes, they're taking the risk and they're putting that initial down payment down to start the process, and maybe they're going to hire the people to do the repairs and all the other things. But in the long run, they're doing two things that you're not getting. One is their mortgage. When they pay that, they're always paying down a principal. Principal is like a savings. It's like putting an amount. For example, I own my son's condo where he goes to school. The mortgage payment is $900 a month. Out of that, $200 goes to my principal, and the rest goes to interest, taxes, and insurance. That $200 that goes to the principal, if that condo never goes up in price, I am paying down my mortgage. So it's like a savings account. It's like putting $200 in my savings account. So in 30 years, if I don't sell that condo and I rent it and it pays for itself and I make no money, it's like a savings account that in 30 years, I'm going to own that condo outright, and I'm at least going to get the money that I put in the condo back. So this is the reason I believe in buying, making the sacrifice of saving. So instead of going out and getting that new shiny car, sacrifice that car and get something that is reasonable and put your money in an aggressive housing fund. Start saving for that house. Start saving for the condo or the townhouse or whatever, your starter. Do not expect, just like buying your car, do not look for the best new shiny house that you can see. Buy something that you can afford as soon as you can afford to put that payment down, and then work your way up. We had a condo when we first started. Then we bought another house. Then we bought another house. I am in my fourth house in my 40s. But I would have never got to this house that I'm living in that's worth over $1 million if I didn't buy that condo that's less than $100,000. So you need to do one of the things that I recommend for Gen Zers in their 20s and 30s is aggressively save in their housing fund. Because when you pay rent, you are paying somebody else's mortgage. And responsibility comes with life. So if you're going to tell me, oh, I don't want to own because I don't want to be responsible for anything, okay, then you're never going to build wealth. If you don't want to be responsible for nothing, you're never going to build wealth. That's the end all be all. You have to take risks, and you have to be calculated about it, and you have to understand that those things come with responsibility. Wealth comes with responsibility, but one hand washes the other. So if you want to build wealth, you cannot pay somebody else's mortgage. So soon as you've saved that initial down payment, look for your starter home. Whatever that is, I guarantee you it will work for you.